What's going on, everyone? Real Red Politics here. Welcome back to another video on my channel. Before I get into today's video, if you could take a second and hit that like button, that would mean a lot. And if you are not yet subscribed or are new, if you could subscribe to the channel to help me reach that 300 subscriber goal, that would mean a lot to me. And I'm trying to reach that goal by the end of this month. And I think with everyone's continued support, I think it's very possible. So today I have another tier list video, and I recently just did one for possible 2024 vice presidential candidates for presidential candidate Donald Trump, and it received pretty positive reviews, or it was got good decent amount of views for the channel, and people seem to like it. So today we are going to be doing I'm going to be doing a 2024 presidential candidate tier list, and this is just one of the tier lists I found on TierMaker, and I'll leave it in the description below if you guys want to make your own tier list. So the tier categories that this TierMaker has is nominee, who would be like the runner-up, and then who have a pretty good primary run, someone that's not going to be the nominee, but show that they might have possibilities of being a strong candidate in the future. You have your okay candidates, your kind of not so great candidates, and then you have your horrible candidates, which I'm sure a lot of you know how I stand on a couple of these candidates, and we'll get to them in this video. I'm going to try and keep this video as short as possible because I know we do have quite a few candidates to go through. But without further ado, let's get into our first candidate. We have Rand Paul. Socially very conservative. That's one thing I like about him. He's not the most conservative guy when it comes to economics. He's not, the worst. He did have a presidential run in 2016 that failed pretty miserably. I do like Rand Paul on a lot of issues. He's been very strong, socially. He's socially conservative. He does have those traditional values. He is a libertarian, or so he says. He's a libertarian, and he is, he's not an interventionalist or a globalist, which is another thing I like about him. If he ran, he's not going to run. I think he'll endorse Trump. If he does run, he'll be okay. I don't think he's going to really get anywhere. I don't know even that I like him as a senator. I don't know that he would have a good primary run, so I'm putting him in okay candidate kind of tier. And these are just the tiers that came with the TierMaker. I haven't added or removed or changed anything. Next we have Donald Trump Jr., who, like his father, is very charismatic. He's very energetic, and he has a lot of fire to him. He's very strong in what he believes in. He has a lot of the values that his father has. I think it's possible that we'll see a Donald Trump Jr. run in the future for president. Maybe at the state level first, but I think it's likely we'll see a presidential run. If he ran this time against his father, I don't know that he'd get anywhere. So I'm going to just put him as I think he'd put him as a good primary run. Next we have Nikki Haley. That's all I have to say about her. But I guess I'll have a quick few talking points about her. As many of you know, I don't like Nikki Haley, mainly for the fact that she's a big interventionalist, she's a globalist, and her foreign policy is just awful. It's terrible. And I mean, she was Trump's UN ambassador, and then she ended up resigning because she was just terrible, And I think, at the time, Trump probably didn't know how globalist Nikki Haley was until she was his UN ambassador. But she is a globalist, complete neocon. She's announcing her run on the 15th, from what I've read and stuff. And like other people have talked about, you're gonna have all these clowns that are gonna be making a circus, and it's just gonna be it's gonna make Trump's job a lot easier. It's gonna make the debates a lot more fun to watch. So I'm putting her in the horrible candidate here because she's horrible. I was looking at polls the other day on her. She barely cracked 4% in South Carolina, the state that she's from, and the state she was the governor in. I think it was like 4%. It was a single-digit number because she was behind like 2 or 3 other candidates that were being polled, or possible candidates. It was hilarious. Donald Trump. Everyone knows where I stand on Donald Trump. Absolutely the best president of my lifetime so far, and probably one of our better presidents that we've had in the United States, U.S. history. He has pretty good foreign policy. He has some of the best economic policies I've seen from a president in a long time. He's very good with economics. He gave us a strong border system, which then the Biden administration destroyed. We had one of the best economies in over 50 years under the Trump administration. He was one of our better presidents, and it was my favorite president of my lifetime. And if not my favorite president, I've been researching presidents, every single president in order for the What Are My Thoughts series. So if you haven't watched that, I highly recommend you go check it out. I'm going over every single president right now, and then I'm giving my overall opinion on them. But Donald Trump specifically, very charismatic. He's given pretty, great speeches. His rhetoric might not be, wasn't the best at times, but he spoke his mind, and that's one thing I really like about him. And I think it's very likely he'll be the nominee. I really think it's possible, and we need Trump back in office. And I think if he stays on the path that he stays on now, and giving his strong messages and his strong policy ideas, I think people are going to continue to like him, because I know he's actually been polling above DeSantis now, and I know he's been doing really well. Next, we have Matt Gaetz, representative from Florida. I don't think he'd get second place. Another guy I really like, big supporter of Trump. Actually nominated him twice for Speaker of the House when McCarthy was running, and it took 15 votes to get McCarthy into the House, or into the Speaker of the House. Now, in regards to McCarthy, I've been very impressed with him lately. He's been, he's done a much better job than I honestly thought he would as Speaker of the House, and so I hope he continues staying on the track that he's on, because he's been a good Speaker of the House, and I had my doubts about him. I still have my doubts, because in the past he's known to be kind of a rhino, but he's been proving himself to be a pretty good Speaker of the House. And as far as Matt Gaetz goes, very charismatic, very strong in what he believes in. He believes in the freedom that this country was founded on. He's very strong in that aspect, very strong fiscally and socially conservative. And overall, he would be a strong candidate. I don't know that he'd even get second place, but I think it's possible we'll see a run for president in the future. I'm not saying we will, but I'm saying it's possible. Next, we have Ted Cruz. People know that I like Ted Cruz. People on this channel know, you've heard me say it multiple times, that people give Ted Cruz too much hate. I understand 2016, everyone, he kind of got the name Lying Ted, because he was kind of flip-flopping. But I think after Trump became president, and after his re-election to the Senate, or election to the Senate, something like that, I think he's proven himself to be one of our better senators, because he believes in America first. He's not a globalist. He's really not interventionalist. And he constantly is critiquing the Biden administration for the absolute terrible decisions they've been making. He got second place in the 2016 run, and I think if he ran again, he would very likely end up in second place again. Just taking a look at, he's gotten much better over the years. He's very, vocally, he's very strong with what he believes in. And, he believes in strong borders. He believes in all the stuff that America needs. And I would consider him an America First candidate. And so, I didn't used to like Ted Cruz, but over the years, he great lawyer. Very good lawyer. I think he's argued in front of the Supreme Court. He was going to defend Trump back in the 2020 election, when that whole situation was happening. Very strong defender of Trump. I'm going to put him in second place. Next, we have Greg Abbott. All right, governor of Florida, or governor of Texas. My bad. Two completely different states. He's been an all right governor. I mean, people down there seem to like him. I don't think he's gonna run for president. I think he's fine sitting in Texas. I think he'd be an okay candidate. I don't think he'd even really have that good of a run. I'm just gonna put him in. He's an okay candidate. Next, we have Josh Hawley. Probably the strongest senator that we have in the United States Senate right now. Very strong when it comes to, he's very socially conservative, very fiscally conservative. Very strong in what he believes in, very, his foundation is strong. Traditionally conservative. He's everything that America needs. And I know he likes being a senator. I don't know that he'd run. I really don't. I think maybe it's possible in the future. But as of right now, he wouldn't be the nominee if Trump ran. This tier list is based on with Trump in the race. Because Trump is running, where do these candidates stand? Now, if Trump wasn't running, this tier list would probably be a little different. But considering he is running, that's how I'm basing this tier list on. Next, we have former Vice President Mike Pence. And I'm debating whether or not I put him in the okay candidate category or the horrible candidate category, because after what he did to Trump and just went on to those news organizations started bashing him, he lost a lot of support from me. I didn't mind the guy. He was okay at the vice presidential debates. It's better than Kamala. He's okay. I think he's former governor of, Indiana. He's kind of your middle of the run guy. I mean, he's nothing special. But do I really put him on the same level as Nikki Haley? Because Mike Pence isn't really a globalist. He's a bit of a neocon. Do I put him in okay candidate or horrible candidate? Let's see. Well, who else do we have on this list? We have Marco Rubio. We have Candace Owens, Chris Christie, Elise Stefanik, DeSantis, Mike Lindell, Rick Scott, and Tom Cotton. Do I put Mike Pence on the same level as I would put Nikki Haley and Chris Christie? I don't think I can. As much as I'd like to put him in the horrible candidate, because I don't have any respect for Mike Pence. Gotta look at this from an objective standpoint. He wouldn't have a good primary run, but he wouldn't be the worst candidate on the stage. Next, we have Marco Rubio, who ran in 2016, failed miserably, and he's improved himself as a senator over the years. He's was very moderate when he actually entered the Senate, and he's been becoming more and more conservative over the years. I don't know that he'd get anywhere this term, and I don't think I can put him on the same level as Ted Cruz. I don't even know if I could put him on the same level as Matt Gaetz. But he won his re-election term by, 10 points, if not more? I mean, he won by pretty much a landslide over his opponent. Do I think he'd do well in a run? I think he'd have an okay primary run. I don't have a lot to say about the guy. But I'm going to put him above Mike Pence. I think that's... I just can't... I know people will be like, well, how do you put Rand Paul in the same tier as Mike Pence? Because it's not... Rand Paul is a great senator. But presidential runs is different. You're running at a national level instead of at a state level. And sure, you're running at a federal level for Senate, but you're running at a full national level for the whole country, not just one state. And so it's, Rand Paul, I'm sure, I think he'd be fine as president. But remember, we're taking into account that Donald Trump is running. So it's not that a lot of these people are, like Matt Gaetz is a good candidate. Rand Paul, good candidate. put against Donald Trump, they're not. It knocks him down a couple tiers. Next we have Candace Owens. She's part of Turning Point USA, along with Charlie Kirk. These are great people. She's a great speaker. But if she ran for president, and I have a feeling someone's going to pick her as her vice president, or she very may well run for some type of office in the future. She'd be an okay candidate. I don't know that she'd really appeal to many different people, at least not as of right now. I think, there was a bit for a while that she wanted to be Trump's VP. Trump was probably considering her at one point. I don't know that he is anymore. She came from a very liberal background, or she was, she kind of talks about her backstory a little bit. She was a liberal, I wouldn't say very leftist, but she was a leftist before she became a conservative. And now she's one of the stronger conservative voices that we have here in the United States. Very good socially and economically. I'm honestly probably I like her as a speaker and as a person, but running against Donald Trump, I really don't think she'd get anywhere. You know what? I'm going to switch Rand Paul and Marco Rubio. Because I think now that I'm looking at this tier list, I think Rand Paul would do better than Marco Rubio. I think Marco Rubio dropped out before Rand Paul in 2016, but I could be wrong on that. So taking a look at this so far, Candace Owens, I'm going to probably put her an okay candidate. Like I said, I like her as a speaker, as a person, but running against Trump, I don't think she'd really get anywhere. I don't know that she'd really be able to crack more than 2%. And it's possible. So that's kind of where I have her. Chris Christie. Hardly call him a Republican at this point, and I think he kind of, he's just entering the race for free food. And I think everyone's kind of seeing that, and I think everyone's, he's just not a good politician. He's very weak on pretty much all the issues. So, that's all I have to say about him. Lee Stefanik, kind of the same thing with, she'd be an okay candidate. I don't know a lot about her. I just know she's very centrist. So, from what I've heard, she's centrist. I like the, candidates that I vote for be more conservative than centrist, just because you don't want to give in to the socially liberal agenda or fiscally, you don't want to give in to the economic liberal agenda either, because both are destructive. She's very centrist from what I've heard, and so I'm just going to put her in the okay candidate. I don't know a lot about her, but that's just where I'm going to put her. DeSantis, second place. He's polling behind Trump in most recent polls. I think in South Carolina he's polling behind Trump. I might be wrong on that, but I think South Carolina was one of the most recent polls that I looked at, because I was making a video on Nikki Haley and how she's running for president. Second place. I don't think he'll beat Trump. Not at this point, because Trump, he's attacking DeSantis. For good reason, though, because I don't think DeSantis is going to run, because Floridians would not be happy if he ran, because they voted for him in re-election to keep him in Florida for, his last term. And I say last term because I'm pretty sure he's term limited after this term. That's why people are saying run in 28, because he can't run for governor again. Run for president in 28. He'll do a lot better. We need, that's just it's going to be a Ross Perot situation where the party's going to be split, or a Teddy Roosevelt situation. The party's going to be split, and then you're going to end up getting the Democrat, which I'm not sure who's going to be the Democratic nominee. I think it's likely not going to be Biden. I don't know that he'll run for re-election. I know a lot of people don't want him to. I think it's likely we're going to see Gavin Newsom probably throw his hat into the ring on that side. I'm probably not going to do a video on that, just because I really don't want to. But DeSantis, he has some globalist tendencies. He's America first, but he has some globalist ideas. that I'm sure he'll address, and I don't know. I don't know how he's changed over the years. He said he's probably the best governor that we have in the United States. He's been very strong in Florida, but like I said, things at the state level are very different than at the national level. The federal level is one thing. National level is completely different. You're taking care of the whole country. This is it's very different. But considering he's fallen behind Trump at the polls, that kind of stuff, I'm putting him in second place. And personally, I'm going to be voting for Trump in the primaries. In the primary over DeSantis, if DeSantis runs, which I don't think he will. A lot of people are saying he's going to. I don't think he will. Next to Mike Lindell, very big supporter of Trump. He very strong when it came to the 2020 election. Very strong in all of that regards. He's not going to run, and I think he'd just be okay. I don't know that. This is one of those people where he could be like Trump and surprise all of us. But I don't think I could put him in the same level as Rand Paul, Matt Gaetz, or Donald Trump Jr. I think when you're just comparing the two, or really, when I say comparing the two, I mean, let's say Donald Trump Jr. to Matt Lindell, there's just a big difference there. Next we have Rick Scott, Senator from Florida. I know he's been very strong against Rhino Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's, he's a coward. He's one of those people where if you don't agree with me, then you're not going to get any jobs from me. That kind of thing, or whatever. Or he's not going to fund your campaign. Is what it is. For example, you can take the person that was running for Senate in Arizona. I forget his name, but I think everyone knows who I'm talking about. Wasn't going to vote for Mitch McConnell for Senate Majority Leader, so Mitch was like, "You're not voting for me? Well, I'm not going to help you." He's that kind of person. Like he'd rather stay the minority leader than have a majority in the Senate, because that's the kind of person he is. Big ego. Mitch McConnell's terrible. I don't know a lot about Rick Scott, admittedly. I know I think he'd be an okay candidate. I'd probably put him above Marco Rubio. Like I said, I don't know a lot about Rick Scott. I know he's a Republican. I don't know a lot about him. I don't want to put him in the good primary run, because then I don't like if he is a rhino, and I don't know. I don't want people being like, "Well, he's an absolute rhino for this, and this," and it's like, well, okay, I didn't know that. So I'm just gonna put him in the okay candidate category. And then next we got Tom Cotton. I think he's from Arkansas, senator from Arkansas. Another guy I don't know a lot about. I know he's pretty traditionally conservative, socially conservative. I don't know a lot about him, so I'll probably put him in the okay candidate category. But this category knows. I think we're gonna adjust things a little bit, just make things a little bit more even. I think there we go. I think that's better. Two worst candidates in the horrible candidate category. You got the okay candidates, like your Mike Pence's and your Greg Abbott's of the field. People who get a good primary run. Donald Trump Jr., Matt Gaetz, that kind of stuff. Second place. Got your Ted Cruz's. You're just Ron DeSantis. And you got who I think is going to be the nominee. So that's what I had for today's video. If you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like. And like I said, if you're not yet subscribed and do enjoy the content on this channel, please hit that subscribe button. Help me reach my goal of 300 subscribers by the end of this month. It would mean a lot. And if you guys want to see more of these kinds of videos, just leave a like and then comment below what you agree and what you disagree with. So thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for more political content coming your guys' way.